Anja, what type of tea is this?
Well, it's not white, it's not green. Oolong?
Of course it's oolong, but what type of oolong?
You never talked about the different types of oolong.
Sure I did. Let me find the video for you. Oh, I didn't shoot it.
Well then, let's make up for it.
This is Nannuoshan.
I'm Anja.
And I'm Gabriele. Oolong, let's start defining it. I know that Anja studied the whole night on Wikipedia. So tell us, what's oolong?
Okay, so what I found out is that oolong is one of 6 categories that you can find, and it sits between an oxidation level of green tea and black tea.
That's all correct. So you would expect that also color-wise and maybe taste-wise, the two categories, green and black, envelope surrounds somehow oolong. And in fact, you have oolong that can be very bright, actually green in color, and others that are very, very dark, almost black, like black tea. Now, let's go one step further. We want today to discuss the different types of oolong so that you will be able not only to know which they are, but also to recognize them in the future. Because we realized that we need a little bit of exercise on that. So first of all, there are 4 main types. The first one is, or let's say the first one we are starting with, is Southern Fujian oolong. In Chinese, you would call them Min Nan oolong. Min is a shortening for Fujian, the province, and then Nan means south, the same word that there is in Nannuoshan, that Nan means south, and then you have oolong. Now, why we distinguish that geographically? It comes from the south of the Fujian province. It's not only a geographic distinction, but actually along with the terroir and with the geography, also the taste comes. So those are really 4 categories differentiated by geography, by location, but at the same time also by taste. In fact, the tea from southern Fujian have a characteristic, very floral, kind of delicate taste. The most famous of all of them is TEAWARE. So often you heard us speaking about the TEAWARE that we have here, this, and you see it's fairly green. The leaves are really green, and you always heard speaking about TEAWARE, but there are other teas in southern Fujian that go along with TEAWARE and they use the same style. Some have also very fancy shapes. They can come compressed in small little pockets, cubes, but nonetheless the taste is always green and aromatic. At least traditionally. Nowadays farmers like to experiment, but traditionally the characteristic of the southern Fujian oolong is a very floral taste. And while I explain you the other types, you can also start brewing them so that we can try and then you can confirm what I'm saying, or maybe not. We have here a bunch of Gaiwan. Let's put them in the right order. And then we start brewing them so that we can try. Oh, they're all mixed up. Here is TEAWARE, so we start with that one. Now, if you move farther up in the Fujian province, and from the south you go to the north, you find the Wuyi rock tea. Wuyi rock tea in Chinese is Wuyi Yan Cha. Yan means cliff, actually. And in fact, in German, the translation is cliff, is Felsentee. But in English, they don't call it cliff tea, they call it rock tea, Yan Cha. So we say Wuyi rock tea, Wuyi Yan Cha. Sometimes you can refer to them also as Min Bei oolong. Min, Fujian, Bei means north, North Fujian oolong. And that's this one. So the characteristic of Wuyi rock tea is a strong roastiness. They are very roasted, and that's the first thing that comes to your palate. So if you want to recognize them by taste, think about the roasty aspect. Continuing our journey, and now we jump actually back south, farther south than the Fujian province, and we go to Guangdong. There is, we find the Phoenix single bush. Phoenix single bush in Chinese is Fanhuang Danzong. Those are very difficult to describe, I have to say. It's really tricky. It's very hard for me to find a single taste adjective that really convey what they are, and you keep that in mind and you recognize them. You know, I can tell you Tieguanyin is floral, and if the tea, you know that is an oolong, you taste it, it looks like more or less the Tieguanyin rolled, and it's very floral, it's likely to be that one. Same for rock tea. If it is roasted, it's easy to recognize, it's roasted. Wuyi rock tea. With Danzong, with Phoenix single bush, is a different story. And they are aromatic, but it's not only about the aromatic. There is also a tiny bit of bitterness to it. There is minerality. Sometimes they can even be spicy. A tiny bit, you know, it's just a tiny bit. And what I think is most, maybe it's not so much the taste that is, let's say, unique and easy to describe, rather the texture, because the texture is very pronounced. So it's like you would have, sandpaper in your mouth, and not, it's scratching, it's moving, there is a lot going on in a way, yeah. And I could say that basically the tea is like awaken your senses in a way, yeah. So let's say that a way of recognizing Phoenix single bush is thinking at them as the tea is very complex. I know it's not the taste adjective, but if it is a tea that gives you a lot of inputs and is very complex, among the other oolong, I would say that might be a Danzong. And let's look at the leaves maybe. So we say the rock tea is this one here. You see it's really dark. But it's not the only one dark. There is also the Danzong, that is one here, that you see is very similar, right? And if you're not used to it, they are kind of difficult to tell apart, right?
It seems this one is thinner. The leaves are a bit thinner than this one.
Yes, correct. So we didn't prepare that in advance, but it is really the case. So Danzong tend to have thinner leaves, a bit longer, and they are usually a tiny bit lighter in color. Of course, it's easy, we're making a comparison. That doesn't mean that you will never be able to find a Danzong that is darker than a Wuyi. Of course you do, but on average, Danzong is lighter in color because it is less roasted. Okay. All right, then we can start trying it. Let's start maybe with the Tieguanyin before I reveal you which is the fourth category. We can do just like this without a picture. And let's see if you confirm that this Tieguanyin is like the classic southern Fujian oolong. It's kind of delicate, yeah?
Yes, it is. It's very fresh.
Very fresh, a little bit creamy, tiny bit. And floral. Yeah, it's if you think at the three main type of taste, floral, fruity, nutty, you go straight to floral for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Let's move on.
Different color already.
Different color, right? So it's already. You taste the roastiness?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much there. Actually, this is a fairly roasted Wuyi Anja. So among the all Wuyi Anja is one of the one that is most roasted is a raw Wuyi.
But it's funny that already these two teas are part of the same category now.
Yes, but
They're so
you
different.
mentioned before can be almost everything between green and black. We see it in the color, and on top of that is not only that this one is more oxidized, is also roasted, while TEAWARE is not. All right, now this is the Phoenix single bush, the Dansong. I always say Dansong or Danchong, but it should be Fanhuan Dansong. And let's see how do you like it. See, it's paler in color.
Yeah.
Although the leaves were almost as dark, but since the roasting is not that, and the roasting is superficial on the leaves and goes straight into the brew, it remains quite pale. And you don't have the roastiness. It's not as delicate and floral as the first one. It's also not as smooth. Yeah? It's just there is a lot. Yeah.
And this is the one that you find difficult to find the right adjective for, right? Yeah.
It's difficult to just spot a single adjective to it. But all right, now we have been moving around southern China between Fujian and Guangdong. Let's go now over the strait farther east to Taiwan. The Taiwan oolong is a huge category, and probably it should be divided in further categories. And in fact, actually, I made a whole video about the variety of Taiwan oolongs, the cultivars of Taiwan oolong. So we will put a link in the description below if you want to deepen further. But nonetheless, Taiwan oolong that is here, let's taste it. Is usually very aromatic, and with respect, now we brew it a bit longer, but with respect with all the other is the one that brings you more aroma in a way.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, this is a Sejechun, and it doesn't bring you all the complexity that Dansong has. It's a little bit cleaner in taste, but very intense in aroma. And it can be anything, you know. It can go from intense florality up to a creamy fruitiness, more like this one actually, and cover a wide range. So in a nutshell, I would say that the Taiwan oolong is very aromatic. That's the characteristic. Which one do you like the most?
I really like the first one and also the last one.
So you really like the first one, the TEAWARE, here we are, and you like the Sejechun, which is the Taiwan oolong, that is here. Now you see that they are both rolled, but this is looserly. Yeah, the pairs are not very precise, here are very tiny. And of course this is darker because it has a higher oxidation and is also a little bit older. Over time they continue to oxidize. But the taste difference and the color, it's massive, right?
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So now we talked a lot about different oolongs from China, and then you also presented one from Taiwan. So that's where oolongs come from?
Yeah, that's where originally oolong came from. It was invented in China, as all other types of tea, in particular in Fujian. And then from here went over to Taiwan because most of the Taiwanese are actually originally from Fujian. In fact, the Taiwanese language or dialect is very similar to the Fujian dialect. So actually, I'm not 100% sure that they understand each other, but I would say so probably. But nonetheless, certainly oolong nowadays is also produced in other places around the world. I don't want to limit it to China and Taiwan. However, if you go to Vietnam, if you go to Thailand, Even in India, there are some oolongs. Actually, I've seen oolong production even in the US, even in Italy. Pretty much everywhere you can have it. But they are all somehow copies of one of these 4 types. Yeah, so they might have done variation, they might have not known exactly how to do it, and so they invented something new while trying to copy something that was already there. But all things considered, if you go back, the original idea came from one of these 4 categories. Yeah.
Okay.
Oops.
And then yesterday, I mean, this crazy guy, he even cooks with tea. Can you say something about that? Would you use oolong for cooking?
Yesterday, actually, we cooked with one oolong. Yeah, it was a risotto with spinach, and we even did with Giselle a video about the food pairing. In that case, was mushroom risotto. I'll put a link in the description below if you're curious about how to give even more flavor to a mushroom risotto with tea. But I would say that in the case of oolong, it's such a wide category of taste that I would say that the lighter oolong and more delicate and floral, like for example this one here, pairs well with seafood, for example. While if you take the other teas, they are more intense and they go better along with a stronger taste, and can be like a raw gooey. The Wuyi rock tea we had goes well along even with meat. Yesterday for the spinach risotto, I put actually some dancon, just because I didn't had any bouillon.
Any brodo, any...
I don't know, but any broth to put into it, that's the word. And I wanted to give a little bit more complexity to it, right? Because otherwise, if you cook just plain rice with spinach, it's just a little bit, I don't know, flat. And so I put some dancon in it, yeah. So have a taste. Do you think it would go well along with, I don't know, yeah, whatever seafood you like?
Yeah, we should try this with some vongole.
Vongole, yeah. So, summarizing, oolong tea is an extremely diverse category. I would say that diversity is its beauty. And you should really try it out. And now that you know what are the 4 different kinds, challenge yourself, do some blind tasting, try to find out which of these 4 categories your tea belongs to when you try it. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. We will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.